I still remember the exact moment I met Vanessa. She laughed at something someone said across the crowded living room, and somehow her laughter cut through the din of the party. I looked up, curious about who could produce such a sound, joyful and uninhibited, like she didn't care who heard. She wore a simple blue dress, her dark hair falling over her shoulders, gesturing animatedly as she told some story. I couldn't stop staring. That was 8 years ago. I was 30 then, grinding my way through the startup world, working 80-hour weeks trying to make someone else's dream come true while figuring out my own. Vanessa was 25, a marketing coordinator with plans to climb the corporate ladder, ambitious and driven in a way that matched my own intensity. "Ryan Carter," I introduced myself after 30 minutes of working up the courage to approach her. "Vanessa Miller," she replied, her handshake firm. "You've been watching me." I appreciated her directness then. I would come to regret it later. Our courtship was something out of a romantic comedy. Weekend hikes in Marin County where we'd talk about childhood dreams and adult compromises. Cooking experiments in my small apartment kitchen. Flour on her cheek as she concentrated on following a recipe. Philosophical conversations that stretched until dawn, lying on my living room floor, our voices growing softer as night became morning. We married after a year, a small ceremony in Napa Valley surrounded by 40 friends and family. My parents cried. Hers looked relieved. Vanessa was stunning in a champagne-colored dress, and I couldn't believe my luck. 7 years of marriage followed, solid if somewhat predictable. We didn't have children yet. Both of us agreed careers came first, wanting financial stability before bringing a new life into the world. I'd worked my way up to senior software engineer at a tech firm in San Francisco, pulling a comfortable 6-figure salary. Vanessa had risen through the ranks to marketing director at a mid-sized company. We bought a craftsman-style house in a decent neighborhood in the Bay Area. Not quite Silicon Valley proper, but close enough for reasonable commutes. We had routines. Saturday mornings at the farmer's market, where Vanessa would spend too much on organic vegetables and artisanal bread. Our annual camping trip to Yosemite, where we'd disconnect from technology and reconnect with each other. Sunday brunches with friends, trading stories over mimosas and avocado toast. I won't pretend the spark hadn't dimmed somewhat. Long work hours and the general exhaustion of adult life had turned some weeknights into takeout and Netflix in silence. Intimacy had become less frequent, though still satisfying when it happened. We'd fallen into patterns, comfortable but perhaps too familiar. But we were happy. Or at least I thought we were. When Vanessa mentioned the 2-week European trip with her college friends, I didn't think much of it. She'd been talking about reconnecting with these women for years. Their group chat had apparently reignited during the pandemic, and they'd been planning this girls' reset for months. "You should absolutely go," I told her, genuinely meaning it. "It'll be good for you to have that time with your friends." "Are you sure you don't mind?" she asked, but her eyes were already bright with excitement. 2 weeks is a long time to be away. "I'll bury myself in that new project at work," I assured her. "Time will fly." I even insisted on transferring extra spending money to her account. $3,000 should cover your meals and souvenirs," I said, showing her the transfer confirmation. "I want you to enjoy yourself without stressing about money." The night before her departure, we ordered Thai food, and I watched her pack, carefully rolling clothes into her suitcase, checking her travel documents multiple times, vibrating with anticipation like a teenager before prom. She kept emphasizing, almost insistently, "Just the girls. We all need this reset." I nodded, happy to see her so excited. "Take lots of pictures." "Oh, I will," she promised. "But don't expect me to be posting much. I want to be present, you know, not looking at my phone the whole time." The drive to SFO was quiet, comfortable. She held my hand over the console, squeezed it occasionally. At the international terminal, I walked her as far as security would allow. "I love you," she said, kissing me goodbye, her hand lingering on my cheek. Thank you for being so supportive." "I love you too. Have an amazing time," I responded, watching her closely. She waved one final time before disappearing through security. I stood there longer than necessary, feeling oddly emotional. I was proud of being the kind of husband secure enough to encourage her independence, supportive enough to fund her adventures. I returned to our empty house and threw myself into work, content to give her space and freedom. 3 days later, I was working late at the office when a notification pinged on my phone. A message from my younger cousin, Jason. "Bro, is this your wife?" I stared at the screen, the words glowing in the dim office light, and everything I thought I knew began to crumble with a single tap. The link Jason sent opened to an Instagram post. I rarely checked Vanessa's social media. She mostly posted food photos and sunset shots. Nothing particularly interesting, but what I saw now made my blood run cold. The image showed Vanessa, my wife, feeding a fork of pasta to a smiling man across a candlelit table, an ancient Roman building glowing amber in the background. The caption read, "Trying something new." My fingers went numb as I scrolled down. 23 comments. Friends I knew congratulating her, sending fire emojis, heart eyes. One wrote, "Yes, girl, get it." I scrolled back to her profile. In the past 3 days, she'd posted 17 times. Not just the girls. Not at all. Photo after photo chronicled what was clearly not a friend's getaway, but a romantic escapade. Vanessa posing on a yacht deck, her hand resting intimately on a man's chest. A selfie in what was obviously a hotel bathroom, her wearing an oversized white button-down shirt that wasn't hers. Sunset silhouettes of them embracing. A video clip, my God, a video, of them dancing at what appeared to be some beach club, her head nestled against his shoulder as they swayed to music I couldn't hear. The man was Derek Westfield. I recognized him immediately. Her college boyfriend, the one she'd described as ancient history, the trust fund kid who'd broken her heart senior year by cheating on her with her roommate. She'd cried on my shoulder about him years ago, sworn he was toxic, immature, blocked on all platforms. Now here they were, wrapped in each other's arms in Rome. I scanned the captions, each one driving the knife deeper. Got bored of the usual? Needed this adventure? Sometimes you need to remember what excitement feels like. Life's too short for comfortable and predictable. My breath came in shallow bursts as I tapped on the comments section of the latest post. Her friends, women I'd cooked for, bought Christmas gifts for, considered extended family, responded enthusiastically, "You deserve this, queen! It's about time you put yourself first. Live your truth. Some people are meant to settle, some are meant to live." I checked the timestamps obsessively. These weren't old photos suddenly being shared. She was posting in real time during what was supposed to be girls' adventures through Europe. She hadn't just cheated, she'd documented it, captioned it, shared it with their collective online world. She wanted an audience. She wanted validation. She wanted me to look pathetic. I sat in the silent office, fluorescent lights humming overhead. I thought about our 7 years of marriage, all the late nights I'd worked to afford our comfortable lifestyle, the vacations I'd carefully planned, the dreams I'd supported. She'd stood beside me at my father's funeral, held my hand through my mother's cancer scare, celebrated every promotion and achievement. And now this. I minimized Instagram and opened my encrypted drive. I created a new folder titled Documentation. Then, methodically, I began taking screenshots. Every photo, every caption, every supportive comment, every timestamp, every location tag. I documented everything, my hands shaking slightly as I worked. By 3 a.m., I was still sitting in my office, staring at our wedding photo on my desk. We looked so young, so hopeful, smiling at the camera like we had the world figured out. I didn't recognize those people anymore. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just sat in the cold realization that my marriage was already over. She'd ended it with each posted photo. I just hadn't known yet. As dawn broke over the San Francisco skyline, painting the glass buildings in shades of pink and gold, I made a decision. If she wanted a public performance, I'd give her a public finale, one she'd never forget. My first call at 8 a.m. was to my lawyer. I opened a new document on my computer and titled it Action Plan, my fingers steady now, my mind ice cold and perfectly clear. For the first time in 3 years, I called in sick to work. I couldn't focus on code or meetings, not while my life was imploding. Besides, I had more important work to do. Richard worked out of a sleek office in the financial district. A colleague who'd gone through a nasty divorce had recommended him, calling Richard a shark who smells blood in the water before the first drop falls. I needed that kind of predatory instinct now. "I'll be straight with you," I said, sliding my laptop across his glass desk. "My wife is currently in Europe. She told me she was on a girls' trip. She's actually there with her ex-boyfriend, and she's documenting the whole affair on Instagram." Richard's eyebrows rose slightly, the only indication of surprise on his otherwise impassive face. I opened the folder of screenshots, each one organized chronologically with timestamps and locations. "This is remarkably well-documented infidelity," he commented, scrolling through the evidence. "In California, we're no fault, but this level of public humiliation and the evidence of deception about the trip's purpose? This will absolutely factor into settlement negotiations and potential spousal support discussions." "What can I do right now, legally, to protect myself and my assets?" I asked, the only question that mattered. Richard leaned back, fingers steepled. "First, document everything, which you've already done impressively well. Second, secure separate finances immediately. Joint accounts are fair game until legal proceedings begin, and you have every right to protect marital assets from being drained overseas." He continued, methodically outlining my options. "Third, preserve evidence that she's spending marital funds on an affair. That $3,000 transfer you mentioned? Her charges on your joint credit cards for romantic dinners and hotel rooms with her paramour? That's considered wasteful dissipation of marital assets. Fourth, file for legal separation immediately to establish a date of separation for asset division purposes." We spent 3 hours strategizing. I learned that California's community property laws meant anything acquired during marriage would typically be split 50-50, but her documented misuse of marital funds on an extramarital affair could potentially shift those percentages. Her spending my money on romantic dinners, hotel rooms, yacht excursions, all purchased with funds I'd provided for a legitimate girls' trip, might be recoverable. I left Richard's office with a folder of documents to sign and a clear action plan that felt like a lifeline in the chaos. My next stop, the bank. The personal banker, Christine, had known me for 5 years. She processed my requests without judgment. Transfer of all funds from joint accounts to a new individual account, $87,000 total, freezing of all joint credit cards, removal of Vanessa as an authorized user on my personal cards. "Just going through some marital changes," I explained simply. "Need to protect myself." "I understand, Mr. Carter. These transfers will process immediately. The card freezes will be effective within the hour," she assured me, her voice professional but sympathetic. Back home, I walked through our house seeing everything differently. The framed photos on the walls felt like lies. The furniture we'd chosen together seemed tainted. I began photographing items, creating inventory lists of what we owned. I documented her personal belongings, my personal belongings, and joint purchases. Richard had been clear. Preparation is everything. I checked Instagram again. More photos posted that day. Vanessa and Derek at a beachfront restaurant in the Amalfi Coast, wine glasses raised. Caption, "To new beginnings." The location tag showed they'd moved from Rome to Positano. She wasn't even trying to hide it anymore. I opened our shared flight itinerary. I'd surprised her by upgrading her economy ticket to business class for the return flight, planning to pick her up with flowers. Now, I canceled the return flight entirely, requesting a refund to my credit card. The airline processed it without issue since it was booked under my name and credit card. I drafted a single text message, revising it 3 times before settling on, "Saw your Instagram. Lawyer contacted. Enjoy your adventure." I hovered over the send button for only a moment before pressing it. Then I blocked her number, blocked her on all social media, and set my phone to Do Not Disturb, except for family and work contacts. That evening, I sat in the living room looking at the life we'd built, plants we'd picked together, furniture we'd assembled, photos from trips and celebrations. It all felt contaminated now, like a beautiful facade hiding rot underneath. Strangely, I slept that night deeply and dreamlessly, as if my body knew the worst had already happened and could finally relax. 12 hours later, while I was calmly presenting my quarterly project update in a morning status meeting at work, my phone, still on Do Not Disturb, began lighting up with call after call from unknown international numbers, each one appearing silently as a notification I deliberately ignored. I continued my presentation without missing a beat. The day after discovering my wife's betrayal, I went about my routine with eerie normalcy. Morning stand-up meeting, code review session with junior developers, lunch with my team at the usual taco place where I ordered my standard carnitas burrito and made appropriate small talk about weekend plans. By noon, my phone logged 23 missed calls from international numbers. I checked my blocked messages folder once. There were 15 text messages from various numbers, all from Vanessa, each more panicked than the last. I glimpsed fragments without opening them fully. "Ryan, please, this isn't... Why aren't you answering? My cards aren't working, there must be. Call me back, this is an emergency." I deleted the folder and returned to work, focusing on a particularly challenging database optimization problem that normally would have frustrated me. Today, it felt soothing in its logical complexity. Jason messaged me. "Dude, did you see those posts? Are you okay?" I saw. "I'm handling it. Thanks for the heads up," I replied simply. By evening, the calls came from a new number, one I recognized from years ago. Derek's phone. I almost smiled. Apparently, she'd exhausted every other option. This one, I decided to answer, putting it on speaker while I chopped vegetables for dinner. "Ryan, please! This isn't what it looks like!" Vanessa's voice was high-pitched, frantic. I continued slicing bell peppers calmly. "It looks like you're on vacation with your ex-boyfriend while lying to me about a girls' trip. What part am I misunderstanding?" I asked evenly. "It was a mistake. He showed up in Rome and I was drunk and it spiraled. I didn't mean for it to..." she stammered, words tumbling over each other. "You posted it, Vanessa," I interrupted, my voice flat. "Multiple times. With captions. With location tags. You wanted everyone to see. I was stupid. I was caught up in... Ryan, please, I can't pay for the hotel. They're making me leave. My cards don't work," she cried desperately. I tasted my pasta sauce, added more basil. "That's unfortunate," I responded coolly. "What do you mean unfortunate? Help me. I'm your wife," she shouted, her voice breaking. "You were my wife," I said, emotion finally seeping into my voice, not anger, but something colder. "Now you're just someone who made very public choices. I'm simply letting you experience the very public consequences. You can't just leave me here with no money. I have nothing. Derek left. She was crying now, words breaking up. "He only stayed while I could pay for things. He took the last cash I had and left me at the hotel. My friends already flew home. I have nowhere to dash. Derek's rich, isn't he?" I interrupted, draining my pasta. "I saw the yacht photos. Very impressive. I'm sure he'll take care of you." "He's gone, Ryan. It was all fake. The yacht was a rental for a few hours. He's been using me for..." she pleaded, panic rising in her voice. "Goodbye, Vanessa," I cut in firmly. I hung up mid-sentence and blocked Derek's number too. I finished making my dinner, simple pasta with vegetables, and ate it while watching a documentary about deep-sea exploration. The contrast between my calm evening and her chaos across the world felt appropriate somehow. Over the next week, the messages continued from increasingly random sources: a hotel business center email, a message from a friend of a friend's WhatsApp, even a LinkedIn message. I scrolled through them with clinical detachment. The hotel seized her luggage as collateral. She was staying in a hostel. She sold her jewelry for money. She hadn't eaten in 2 days. She was begging her parents, but they were retired and didn't have much to send. She would sign anything. She would do anything. Please, please, please. Each message was more desperate, more broken. I read them the way one might read a tragic novel, intellectually aware of the suffering but emotionally distant. This wasn't my wife anymore. This was a stranger who had destroyed my marriage and was now facing reality. Richard called with an update. The legal separation papers are ready. We'll need to serve her when she returns to the States. Do you know when that will be? No idea, I said. That's her problem to solve. Ryan, Richard said carefully, I have to ask. She's reached out to me too, through the office line. She's in a difficult situation. Are you absolutely certain about maintaining this position? She made her choice publicly, I replied. I'm making mine privately. The difference is, mine is legal. At night, I methodically removed our wedding photos from the walls. I packed her belongings into boxes systematically. Clothes, cosmetics, books, everything that was hers. I stacked them in the garage, labeled and organized. When she returned, whenever that was, she'd get her things and nothing more. 3 weeks after she left, I received a notification from my Ring doorbell camera at 2:47 a.m. Someone was at my front door. The figure on the screen looked gaunt, exhausted, and desperately familiar. Through the camera feed, I watched Vanessa collapse against the door, her fist pounding weakly on the wood, her voice hoarse as she begged to be let in, and my finger hovered over the intercom button, completely still. I stood in my darkened living room, tablet in hand, watching the Ring camera feed. Vanessa looked nothing like the woman who'd left 3 weeks ago. Her hair was unwashed and tied back, her clothes wrinkled, her face hollowed from weight loss and stress. Her luggage was missing, still seized by the European hotel, I assumed. She carried only a single backpack and looked like she'd been crying for days. Ryan, she said to the camera, her voice breaking, I know you're watching. Please, please let me in. We need to talk. I considered responding through the intercom, but decided against it. Silence was its own answer. She sat down on the porch step, and for 15 minutes she talked to the camera, a one-sided confession that I watched with strange detachment. My parents finally wired me money, she explained, wiping her eyes. I had to tell them everything. My mom won't even speak to me now. Dad just kept saying he raised me better than this. She described her journey home, economy flight, middle seat for 12 hours, panic attacks at 30,000 feet. Derek had apparently blocked her everywhere after taking what little cash she had left. Her supportive friends had distanced themselves. The Instagram posts that seemed encouraging had turned into jokes at her expense. Vanessa's European disaster was making the rounds in their social circle. I destroyed everything, she sobbed to the camera. I destroyed us. I know that. I was selfish and stupid and cruel. I wanted to feel exciting again. Wanted to feel like I did in college, and I threw away everything real for something fake. I watched, my face impassive. I thought about how just 4 weeks ago I would have done anything to prevent her pain. Now, I felt a strange archaeological curiosity, as if examining artifacts from a long-lost civilization. She tried a different approach. I know you're hurt. You have every right to be. But Ryan, we can get past this. We can go to therapy. I'll do whatever it takes. I'll delete my social media. I'll cut off everyone who encouraged this. Just, Please don't give up on us." I almost laughed. She still didn't understand. This wasn't a negotiation. She shifted to anger next, standing and yelling at the camera. 7 years, Ryan! 7 years means nothing to you? You're just going to throw it all away? You're cruel for leaving me there. What kind of person does that? I watched her rage, then collapse back into tears. The cycle continued, pleading, confessing, bargaining, anger, desperation, for over an hour. Finally, I pressed the intercom button. My voice, calm and level, cut through her crying. "Vanessa, the locks are changed. Your belongings are boxed in the garage. I'll have them shipped wherever you want. My lawyer will contact you about serving papers. This conversation is over," I stated firmly. "Ryan, no, please, you can't," she begged, her voice cracking. "You made your choice when you posted those photos. You wanted everyone to see you having the time of your life with Derek. Now everyone sees the aftermath too. That's called consequences," I explained coldly. "I love you," she screamed at the camera. "You loved the life I provided," I said. "There's a difference." "Goodbye, Vanessa." I turned off the intercom and watched as she realized I was truly done talking. She sat on the porch for another hour, crying, before finally calling a rideshare. I watched her headlights disappear down the street. The next morning, I changed all my security codes and added an additional lock to the door. I didn't feel triumph or satisfaction, just resolution. The chapter was closed. 4 months can change everything. The divorce proceedings were as clean as they could be, given the circumstances. Richard had been right. The documented evidence of Vanessa's affair and the wasteful dissipation of marital assets, verified by credit card statements showing expensive romantic dinners and hotels for two, worked heavily in my favor. In the final settlement, I kept the house. We'd made the down payment with my inheritance anyway. 65% of our savings, $56,550, my 401k and investments. Vanessa got her car, her personal belongings, and $30,450 from our joint savings. No spousal support was awarded. Her infidelity and the relatively short marriage duration worked against her. The judge's expression when presented with the Instagram evidence had said everything. I've spent these months reclaiming my space. I renovated the kitchen we'd barely used, replacing the outdated countertops with sleek quartz and installing the gas range I'd always wanted. I painted over the bedroom colors Vanessa had chosen, the calming blue that always felt too cold to me, with a warmer tone. I replaced the living room furniture, not to erase her, but to create something that was authentically mine. Work became a sanctuary. I promoted to lead architect, throwing myself into designing infrastructure for a clean energy startup, something meaningful that makes those long hours worthwhile. Through mutual acquaintances, the few who still speak to both of us, I've heard about Vanessa's aftermath. She tried reconciling with Derek one final time. He'd literally laughed and blocked her. The friends who'd cheered her on with fire emojis distanced themselves once the scandal became social circle gossip. She moved back to her childhood bedroom at 33 years old, her parents making therapy a condition of her staying. She quit her marketing job, couldn't face colleagues who'd seen the posts, and now works remotely for less money. I feel no satisfaction in her suffering, but no guilt either. She orchestrated her own downfall with each carefully filtered photo and calculated caption. 2 months ago, I attended a cybersecurity conference in Austin, where I was a speaker on system architecture. During Q&A, a woman in the third row asked an insightful question about vulnerability scanning in distributed systems. We ended up talking over coffee afterward. 3 hours of conversation that flew by. Priya is 36, divorced herself. Her ex-husband's gambling addiction destroyed their marriage, works as a security consultant, and has a directness I find refreshing. She called me out when I gave a vague answer about my divorce, saying she'd rather hear the ugly truth than a comfortable lie. "I don't do games," she told me on our third date. I don't do social media performance. I don't do anything that isn't real. Life's too short for pretending. We're taking it deliberately slow. She's met my parents, they adore her. I've met her sister and nephew. We talk about our past wounds honestly. No performing, no hiding, no Instagram-filtered versions of reality. When she stays over, she leaves a toothbrush without asking if it means something. It does, and we both know it. I stand in my kitchen now, making breakfast for Priya, who's still asleep upstairs after a late-night movie marathon. Sunlight streams through windows I'd had enlarged during renovation. The house feels different, lighter somehow, like it's breathing properly for the first time. My phone buzzes, a message from Jason. "Hey man, just wanted to say you seem really happy lately. Proud of you for how you handled everything." I smile and reply, "Thanks. I'm good, really good." At dinner parties, when people learn about my divorce, they often ask if leaving Vanessa stranded was too harsh. Could I have been the bigger person? My answer is always the same. She made a choice to betray me publicly, to humiliate me in front of everyone we knew, to turn our marriage into entertainment for her social media followers. She chose excitement over loyalty, fantasy over commitment. I simply chose myself. For the first time in years, I chose myself. People either nod in understanding or change the subject uncomfortably. I don't mind either way. Priya comes downstairs in one of my t-shirts, yawning, asking what smells good. I plate her eggs and toast, and we sit at my new kitchen table talking about our plans for the weekend. Nothing dramatic, nothing performative, just real. And that, I've learned, is exactly enough. And so, we've reached the end of today's story. Was it what you expected, or did it take a twist you didn't see coming? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments below, and let's get a conversation going. If this story kept you hooked, make sure to hit that like button. And if you're new here or just haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to join our community. I bring you fresh, captivating stories every day, so click that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.